United Negro College Fund, the largest scholarship provider to students of color, awarding $100 million annually to more than 10,000 students. Well, they are embarking on their Empower Me Tour. Of course, it's underway now, helping a new group of students hoping to attend some of our nation's top HBCUs. Joining us right now is UNCF President Dr. Michael Lomax. And unfortunately for Michael, he's an alpha.
And a legacy.
See, there you go. All right, then. Sorry, Mike. All right, then. I told you, do not talk trash before the show.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
Afterwards.
After the case. So let's talk about the empowerment. First of all, how many cities are you going to?
Well, we've already been to, let me see, we've been to 4 cities already. We've been to Minneapolis, Oakland, Chicago, Cincinnati. Going to Dallas next week, and we'll be at the Sheraton in Dallas on the 13th. You know, we've already touched over 3,000 students. We've awarded over $9 million in scholarships. These are, in the fall, we meet with high school kids, and we give them college counseling, financial aid counseling, and we give them the opportunity to meet admissions counselors and get accepted on the spot and get a scholarship. We switch over in the spring to dealing directly with college students and dealing with career readiness. Mm-hmm. And in both of those, because one of our sponsors is Wells Fargo, we're talking to them about financial literacy to ensure that they are, before they go to college, prepared for the financial costs, and when they get a job, that they're prepared to move into the middle class.
I don't think people realize, even now, how many students today are still first-generation college students.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, and certainly in the African American pipeline, 75% of the kids who go to historically black colleges are eligible for federal financial aid, so they're low income. And, you know, depending on how you define first generation, it's about 50% of the students who are first in their families to attend and to complete college. So, you know, we're dealing with young people who have been told it's important to aspire to go to college, may not have all the tools, and don't necessarily have somebody in the family they can talk to prepare them.
On that exact same note, how important is it and what resources can students who maybe can't get to the college tour cities, how can they get this information? Because I remember I was a first generation college student, walking into the financial aid office and them saying, hey, you can get this loan, like how much is it? Well, look, I'm balling out for this semester. How can you get them out of that trap?
Yeah, well, you know, absolutely, and most communities are going to have somebody they can deal with, but they always come to UNCF, to uncf.org, reach out to our regional offices, and talk to our teams about how I prepare for college. And the first thing that you got to do is everybody has to fill out a federal financial aid form. It's a little complicated, hopefully going to be simplified under the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act, but that's the primary tool. And make sure that every one of these kids is getting their Pell Grant if they're eligible for it, and applying for scholarships, because, you know, the job of every one of these kids is to reduce the financial obligation that they're going to be committing themselves to. And borrowing may be necessary, but you want to do as little of it as possible.
Dr. Lomax, first, thank you for your work. I applaud it. I'm a first-generation college student. Went to Clark Atlanta University. Fist bump.
All right,
you talked about preparing students to go and move into the middle class, and I think something that I found when students who attended HBCUs move into the middle class, and you ask them about their HBCU experience, and they talk about how nurturing it was, and then you ask how many of you guys are giving back, how many of you guys are part of the Booster Club, and it's not a lot of people. So what is a way that we can encourage people who had this amazing experience to sow a seed back into the institution to help create the pipeline and further students to keep it?
Well, UNCF has been working with our private historically black colleges to improve their alumni giving. And, you know, the #1 institution in HBCU land is one of our institutions, Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. It has over a 50% giving from alumni. Now, let me just tell you, 50% is not just good for HBCUs. It's remarkable for most institutions. It's followed by Spelman.
No. It's remarkable for colleges, period.
All right.
Not black.
Just colleges.
Period. I mean, you got some white colleges like, man, we would love to have 50% giving.
Yeah. So, but after that, it drops down, and I think the average giving to historically black colleges is in the teens. unacceptable. And so
5%.
Well,
Is that
all right? You're harder than I am.
That's what the presidents keep telling me.
Okay, so what we've got to do is we've got to get people to stop just talking about HBCUs. They got to start giving back to HBCUs. And the first place to do it is to your alma mater. And I hope that the two of you are big supporters of CAU.
Well, that's why I started the hashtag initiative HBCU Giving Day, because what ended up happening was I said, look, I don't want to hear you talk about what school you went to and you ran your letters and you're proud, and you don't even, I mean, when you talk about giving, the problem is we're not talking about, well, are you giving 1,000? No. That number is literally giving anything. And so in Florida A&M, it's 5%. The president of Wilberforce, Dr. Felton, when he got there, Wilberforce, it was 1% when he got there. Now it's at 9%. The president of Howard says when he arrived, undergraduate giving was 3.7% of all undergrads. Now it's up to 10%. And so it's getting folks to understand that, but it's also getting them to understand that, yeah, you might have had a bad experience with this person or this office, but the reality is somebody gave before your butt got there. And so at least seeing $20 back.
Yeah, there is no excuse, and there are all kinds of opportunities. And for those of us who got a good job, they can also probably get a match from their company.
Well, Michael, a quick plug. Thank you for mentioning scholarships. The Ron Brown Scholar Program. I got to give a plug for my father's scholarship program, one of the more aggressive scholarships in the country. Young people, when they're trying to figure out, Michael, how to deal with the ACT and the SAT as opposed to what their GPAs are. How is that impacting our community? Because clearly, at least historically, whether it's perception or reality, we don't do as well on the standardized tests.
No, we don't do as well on the standardized tests. And so the first thing I say to all young people is, your job is to be as good a student as you possibly can be. And I say that to parents. Whatever your income level is, you've got to support your kids, and you've got to make sure that they're getting every opportunity they can to get a good education. Increasingly, there's a stronger emphasis placed on grade point average and on recommendations. So that's at least good news. But those standardized tests remain gatekeepers, and they remain gatekeepers increasingly for the state scholarship. So if you live in Louisiana and you want to get your tuition underwritten there by the TOPS program, you have to score 21 on the ACT, and that's a very high mark for most African American kids. So, all I would say is we're seeing more of our kids taking the test. There's got to be more test preparation. We've got to learn how to prepare in the same way that the white kids do, and we've got to do better on those tests.
Dallas on the 13th of December. What other cities?
Well, Dallas on the 13th of December, and then we switch over to the program for the college kids.
And that starts when?
That starts February 9th in Atlanta, February 20th at Shaw and Raleigh, and March 15th at Miles in Birmingham.
All right, then, Dr. Lomax, we appreciate it. And then, Doc, you forgot to give a website to give, Doc.
Oh, yes, UNCF.org, and we want to thank our sponsors there,
Doc,
too.
you said that too fast, Doc.
UNCF.org, Empower Me Tour, founded by Wells Fargo and presented by Target.
All right, so there you go. But bottom line is you got to, when you ask for the money.
Thank you.
When you ask for the money,
you say UNCF.org.
You got to slow that thing down.
I got it.
You can't be slow to everything else
Well,
and
you
rush.
talk so fast.
Yeah, but if it comes to the money, I slow down.
Okay, all right.
All right, Doc, we appreciate it. Coming up next, we'll talk to Anjanou Ellis. She says, Donald Trump, you kick rocks when it comes to Mississippi for the opening of the new Civil Rights Museum. And of course, Congressman John Lewis says, I won't be there. 15 before top of the hour. News 1 now on TV 1.